experimental rap is changing. There are many different ways people can go about making an experimental rap album, like go electronic, do a lot of samples, or just throw a lot of things against the wall and hopefully it sticks. And that's what I love about the genre. You have like these mix of styles, and they're not confined to a pure hip hop style. They can freely do whatever they want, and it gives them a lot of space. There's many artists in the genre that are big, like Danny Brown and his most popular Atrocity Exhibition, which has some normal hip hop tracks in regular sense, but the main ones that stand out are Gold Dust and Ain't It Funny, which feature this like brand unique sound with them just being like crazy and just totally different. And then you got like JPEG Maffia's Veteran, which is honestly one of my favourite albums. You've got like the normal track 1539 North Calvert, which is like just a very progressive hip hop album. Then you got like Fug Tears, which is like really, I would say, like he's just straight to the point and then the beat switches up. It's cool. And then you got other tracks that just completely change it. It's insane. As well as Death Grips and well, biggest ones being Ex-Military and Money Star, which Money Star features like a lot of electronic productions like Get Got, with just one sample being pitched down and changed up, which I find extremely creative and a sense of like good production in my opinion. All this leads us up to Injury Reserve and the album that is changing rap. Oh shit! They said, man, we want some more hits. Some context before this album, Injury Reserve was a trio featuring Parker, Richie with a T, and Stepper J Groggs, which sadly passed away in 2020, which was devastating to the members and the respective families, of course. The group leading up to the album we're going to talk about were more of a jazz rap with Floss and Live at the Dentist Office, with their self-titled called, well, Injury Reserve, being more experimental with tracks like Jailbreak the Tesla being like this electronic hickey sound, which sounds very technologic, which I like since it's like kind of like how the Tesla is, being that futuristic style. Now let's get on to By the Time I Get to Phoenix. I'd like to say I'm not the best when it comes to describing how I feel about albums, and I like to get that point across because I can be wrong, and if I am, I very apologise, but the way I feel about this album is, if you look at the album cover, that is how I'd feel. I'd describe like how it would sound to somebody. It just is pixelated, the guy's floating, like some parts of this album sound ethereal, and it also just looks like a dystopia. And it just looks distorted, which I'd also say is like a major part of how I think I'd describe it. The album is like no other experimental album, which, shocker, it's an experimental genre. Which, I think though, this album is the closest to making its own style of genre, like post-rap or something like that. With how it sounds being just without 808s, nothing. It's very depressing, I'd say, which kind of relates back to the losing of Stepper J Groggs, which is a loved member of the group and a really sad tragedy that happened. Now I'm going to list off a few tracks that I think are the standouts of this project and the ones that just feel different, but each track has its own unique style, how it feels, as well as just being like the album cover just shows it as like being a dystopia, and it's just out of the ordinary. With the start track, Outside, being like how I would describe it as a panic attack, with how Richie with a T raps over it. It just sounds like he's having a panic attack up until the end part where he just lets it all let go, and then the electronic groove just plays on, which I absolutely love. It's one of my favourites of the project with postpartum. And then we go into Ground Zero, which goes over this glitchy kind of sound with Richie talking about how turbulent the first few months of COVID were, relating it to like a Ground Zero, like the plague, just being all locked up and not able to go anywhere, which quite sucks, but is what it is, and at least it's eased up now. And then you get onto Knees, which is like the most standout track of this project and one of the ones that was released at, I think, first, which features Stepper J. Groggs, which was nice, which everyone at least paid their respects to when the single came out. Knees to me is like an embodiment of sounding defeated. Like, if you looked in the music video, they had their heads bowed down while as these lights started flashing in the background. And then when it comes to Stepper J. Groggs' part, every single flash, there was just a picture of him on the microphone, which was very great. The sample of this song uses a cut track from Black Midi, which they just released as a single, and I think it fits the theme very well of it just sounding just depressed. Sadness is just what I get from it. By how in the lyrics they reference how they're not growing no more, and well, in Stepper J. Groggs' case, he says at least vertically as like a little joke to say probably may get fatter in the future or not, which we'll never know. We'll never know. But in Rich's part, he focuses on like the issues of like listing factors associated with like responsibility and like financial stability, which comes with being an adult and just overwhelms you at some point. That is what it happens. Overall, this record's like a dystopia. It feels grand in many aspects with like how they built it, with it being full of emotions, which is like a strong part. I feel like the album is real, it breathes, it's creative, it's unique, and we may see something like this in the future, or this may be the one-off that never comes around again. I'm Founder. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. If you didn't, dislike it. Leave a comment. If you want to, you don't have to. If you want to see some other stuff, then just click on my name, have a look. I make gaming videos as well as I want to branch out into other stuff. See ya.
Don't you know I have my arms